Hey everyone, I'm finally back after another long hiatus. Also, I haven't worn these goggles in a long time, only worn these for like a few videos. But you do see a lot of it on the thumbnails of my videos. And I'm sure you may have noticed some changes in my game room. And you're probably wondering whatever happened to all the other statues that are scattered in this game room. Well, I did a lot of spring cleaning. As you can see, I now have shelves that I can put some games in, as well as a few small figures inside. And I also have a shelf for my art books, guides, and magazines, as well as a shelf to put my consoles in. As for my statues, thanks to a hand-me-down, I now have a shelf for them as well. Look at this right here. You couldn't be any more professional than having your collectibles properly arranged and tidied up. Though there will be more figures out of the box real soon. In my last video, I've done a retrospective on the Street Fighter series as part of the 100 subscribers and Valentine's Day special, as the series has a special place in my heart. Persona 1 got a good number of votes, and it came so close to winning the 100 subscriber special. However, I figured that now would be a good time as ever to actually review the game. So, right now in the Chronicles, here's my review of Persona 1 for both PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation Portable.
Memory, spirit and self-consciousness. I'm just lone player, keep learning other code track. The hatred thoughts just don't stop. I see free wake from death. The world is all I said to. All my right is picturing me burn. Tokete yuku, close my ray of light, ready for
Before we talk about Persona 1, let me give a quick overview of the company that made it, Atlus. Oh, Atlus. I consider this company to be a bit of an oddball, what with their love of incorporating demons, the occult, and messing with the human psyche into their games since the late 80s. But not every game they've done is all dark and dreary. Nope, they can be very lighthearted when they want to during the NES days in 1991, with games like Rockin' Cats, a platformer starring a rising jazz musician cat going from different levels to save his girlfriend from a mafia boss dog. And I will say that up until now, I still haven't defeated this game yet, as this game is really hard. They also did Wacky Races, based on the Hanna-Barbera show of the same name, only you're not racing like in the show. Instead, it's a platformer where you're controlling Dick Dastardly's henchman, Muttley, in stopping all the bosses of the game, which are the Wacky Racers themselves. A very short platformer, but still decent. Of course, Atlus is no stranger into making fighting games either with their incredibly messed up Power Instinct series. Although Megami Tensei didn't have as much impact back then like Final Fantasy did, the series would be popular in Japan, and it's also getting cult status when word of mouth of the series reaches the West, not only for their atmospheric direction, complex gameplay, and music, but also for its dark theme. So much so that Megami Tensei would branch off into 3 different series, beginning with both Megami Tensei itself and its follow-up Shin Megami Tensei, Majin Tensei, which only saw 3 games, and the one that has a sudden increase in fanbase, Persona. While Persona 1 and 2 garnered some attention, it wasn't until Persona 3 where the series' cult status would slowly grow due to its slight change of setting and a refined system, and then Persona 4 and 5 came, and its cult status would soon go into overdrive with just about anything. Even Joker from Persona 5 would make an appearance for Smash Ultimate, though a minor nitpick of the reveal is that I do find it sad that elements or references of Persona 1 and 2 are not acknowledged at all. It's a shame that people just pass by both games without giving them some thought. It is a shame that both games aren't getting that much attention these days, and don't get me wrong, I do enjoy Persona 3 through 5, but Persona 1 and 2 are important games to me because not only do I enjoy their systems better, but also, I find the characters more interesting than the other games thereafter. Not to mention, the atmosphere and mature content direction of 1 and 2 are much darker, which I preferred. Persona 3 does have that atmosphere down, but not on the same level, and Persona 4 looks a little more lighthearted with some dark themes in between. As for Persona 5, I'll have to play it a little longer to get my opinion on it, as I haven't gone that far yet. Yeah, the game is just too long, I just don't have time for it. Also, some people would prefer the gameplay systems from 3 and above, due to having less forethought on strategy, which to me kinda kills the purpose of what it means to devise a strategy in an RPG. Let's not forget that without Persona 1 and 2, not only would the fanbase itself would not be growing bigger the way it is right now, but also, should the cult status go on an all-time low, there's a high possibility that the Megami Tensei series as a whole would have stayed in Japan for life. So, what interesting tale awaits us in Persona 1? Let's find out. For this review, I'll be looking at the PlayStation Portable version, which you can download for your PlayStation Portable or PS Vita for $20, and I'll also explain some changes in the PS1 release. I'll also use old save data just to save time as well. The setting for the game takes place in the year 1996 in the town of Mikagecho in Japan. Inside an empty classroom of St. Hermelin High School, a group of students, save for students Kei Nanjo and Yukino Mayuzumi, are conducting a ritual called Persona in hopes of summoning spirits. However, one of the participants, Masao Inaba, nicknamed Mark, who went along with this idea, doesn't think it's going to work. It initially didn't until suddenly, an apparition appears before them, with lightning striking down Yukino, Nanjo, Mark, and the game's main character. The protagonist, while still unconscious, is drawn to the realm of a spirit named Philemon, who, after giving your character a name, grants him the ability to summon personas from within, while also giving a warning that his journey has only begun. Your character is mostly silent, with his personality depends on the decisions that you make throughout the game, as he is the link between yourself and the game. You can name him however you like, but since there is an existence of a Persona 1 manga, which is good by the way, I would name him Naoya Todo, as that's his given name in the manga. Upon regaining consciousness, Naoya, along with the other three that were also unconscious alongside him, were then asked by their teacher, Saeko Takemi, to visit Mikagecho Hospital to receive further checkup as well as visit one of their classmates who has been hospitalized 6 months prior to the game. However, I decided to check out the town for now and be familiar on the pathways to take, as well as meet some other characters along the way. Be it school personnel, or this shady CEO named Takahisa Kandori. And then spent so many hours playing inside an in-game blackjack, just so I could score some good items right from the start. After completing those loose ends, it's time for them to visit the hospital where they would meet their bedridden classmate, Maki Sonomura, until something goes wrong in which Maki is suffering from an aneurysm and needed to be rushed into the ICU, which by then a sudden earthquake occurred. The team tried to check up on Maki, only for the ICU room to suddenly vanish, and later down in one of the rooms, zombies suddenly appear, killing off Nanjo's butler Yamaoka, which earned Nanjo's wrath to seek revenge. The team is in a panic as they don't know what to do on dealing with zombies, and as you can see, thanks to hours of playing minigames, I got some good equipment for the characters right from the start. Suddenly, spirits would emerge out of the students, addressing themselves as their persona, and they are at their command at any time, eliminating the zombies away with ease. However, the inside of the hospital has shifted, with demons getting in their way, that they had to break through, until they finally reach the main lobby where more demons show up. Only for one of their classmates, Eriko Kirishima, show up for the assist and then have her persona awakened. They soon realize that it's not just the hospital that shifted, but so did the rest of the town, as it has demons roaming around, and they believe that the company called Sebek, Kandori's company, may have something to do with the world changing. Eriko warns the team to get to Ayala Shrine in order to find and help Maki's mother, Setsuko, a former Sebek employee who was gunned down and left wounded. As the team helps her, a golden butterfly appears before them, sending the students to Philemon's realm once more, telling the students that the world has changed. Which by this part of the story, the game will then branch into two pathways. The Sebek route, which to me is the canonical route, and would also dive deeper as to how Maki Sonomura suddenly appears all healthy and ready for action, or take the elusive Snow Queen quest, a side story that involves the school suddenly going bonkers. I'll stop telling the story from here, as those that wanted to try this game out, I'll let you players progress through the story yourselves and enjoy them, though it should be noted now that because Naoya is a link between you and the game, the decisions you make can also have some adverse effects on the story and how it ends. While not really a long game, it is imperative that you'll want to consult a guide on how to progress with the game. In this case, what I did, the best guide to follow would be the Persona 1 Wikidot, which features ways of moving forward with the story, but also know how the mechanics of the game work. As far as the map goes, you'll need to consult sites like GameFAQs for directions, as each dungeon is set in the first-person viewpoint, a system dating back to Shin Megami Tensei 1 on the SNES, and you'll never know if a path takes you to a dead end, or seal off a potential shortcut, forcing you to find a long way around. Random encounters are triggered either from within the dungeons or while exploring the world map. You'll be battling demons in a grid-based arena. Both your team and the enemy will make moves according to which character is positioned on the grid. As you progress through the story, you can have up to 5 members in the team. Some recruitment can be simple as answering yes or no, and one particular character, you have to go out of your way to perform some conditions to make it happen. While in battle, you have 4 commands that are available to use. You can attack your enemies, make contact with your enemies, analyze enemy weaknesses, assuming if you have defeated a particular opponent at least once, or use an assigned team formation. Useful if by any chance your formation gets messed up when your opponents get the preemptive strike first, which many times it will happen. There are 3 methods of attacking enemies. You can attack with close-range melee weapons, though in the case of Yukino and Maki, the weapons they use are kunai and bow and arrows respectively. Attack with guns, if you equip them along with different types of ammo, or summon your persona in battle to throw down magic damage. Persona can go up a rank the number of times it is summoned, regardless if an attack connects or doesn't, and by increasing their ranks, they'll have access to new skills that they can perform in battle. This kind of battle system is made to give you some forethought on how to attack your opponents, as not every demon is weak to just one type of attack. Some demons will either absorb some magic attacks, reflect some gunshots or magic attacks back at you, or won't take damage from some attacks at all, and some demons will make roadkill out of you if you're not in a good enough level to take them on. There is a workaround, that being your command to make contact with demons, another SNES Megami Tensei staple. Each and every demon will have different combinations of traits, and how you make contact with them will trigger 4 different responses. I will say that the response that matters the most is eager, and that goes double for happy, assuming if you're able to get both responses at the end of a conversation. Whenever you get a full square of eager, you can ask the demon to leave the fight, give you an item, or more importantly, have that demon give you a spell card, which can be used to tell that specific demon to leave the battle the next time you talk to it again, or combine that card with another demon spell card when you have access to the game's Velvet Room. The Velvet Room becomes accessible at around 1 or 2 events later from the start of the deviated path you chose to take, and it's in this room that you'll encounter another spirit named Igor, Philemon's loyal servant, and he appears in every Persona game after this title. His role in the game is that he'll help you create new persona using spell cards that you've collected. I should also mention that you can only carry up to 12 different spell cards at a time, meaning that you either delete some cards or just fuse some of them to make some room. There are 2 different fusion services he provides, manual, aka self-service, or guided, aka full service. Self-service will show you a chart of what persona you'll get from a card fusion, and it's the most important service that you'll want to take. You see, each demon belongs in a specific demon class, and the cards you fuse depend on what card goes in first and what's being integrated second, resulting in a persona of a specific arcana that's compatible for that person with the same arcana, or can work in conjunction with the person's given arcana. Each team member has a character level and a persona level. The higher your persona level, you'll then be allowed to use that persona in battle. You'll also notice some icons and colors in the chart. Whichever cards you want to fuse, some facts had to be taken into account, such as whether you'll be able to raise the stats of that new persona, have that new persona inherited technique from that demon, depending on the order the two chosen cards are arranged, create an entirely different persona when you fuse two cards together and a unique item, or end up causing a fusion accident, which either work on your favor, or you'll find yourself reloading your game and come up with another plan. I should also mention that if you're hoping for a skill inheritance when creating light type persona, bear in mind that light types can't inherit dark type spells and vice versa when creating dark type persona. However, both types can inherit a different elemental spell outside of light and dark. You'll also notice that there's a lunar phase at the top right hand corner of the screen. This also has some effects on gameplay, such as some enemies, even if you defeated them, will have different than normal stats and emotions when you attempt to make contact. The lunar phase will also have some effects on card fusion as well, resulting in a persona with a hidden ability, which of all the years I've played the game, I never tried. Or with some luck on the fusion accident, you might end up with a persona of the full arcana, which I don't attempt either as the chances of that happening is about 1,000,000 to 1. Once you create a new persona, Igor will store them and you can bring them out whenever you make a visit to the Velvet Room. Each party member can have 3 persona imbued from within at a time, and during battle, you can switch a persona should you encounter an enemy that might be weak against a different persona spell. Again, keep in mind that the persona each member can take must be either the same arcana as each member was given, or have one that complements with the given arcana, and that your character's strengths, weaknesses, and statistics depend on the persona currently imbued from within. This whole system may be complex in hindsight, but once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to progress with the story no problem, although it's always a good idea to experiment with this mechanic every once in a while. The graphics of the game are not bad for its time, though it feels more like they just took some assets from the SNES Megami Tensei games and upscaled them into a 5th generation console and 6th generation handheld, and many of the character art, while nice, doesn't really reflect the in-game sprites that much. When comparing the overall map of both consoles, the PS1 version looks more like something being created in SimCity, while the PSP version is more of a pre-rendered aerial view of a city, though I would choose the latter as it's easier to see where to travel. Speaking of comparisons, some of the character designs and names differ between the two consoles. What I mean is that the designs and names of the characters in the PSP version stays true to the Japanese PS1 version, while the US version for the PS1 not only altered the appearances of most of the characters as well as multiple interfaces, but also the names in the US PS1 version are changed. And Atlus's US branch would change the title to Revelations Persona for the US market, in hopes that players would gain interest in it. Despite some changes and differences, some visuals are passable as long as the game is functional. But the real difference is the inclusion of the alternate Snow Queen quest, which I'm only showing little of, as I never actually played the scenario that much, and that's only due to the complex stipulations that come with that scenario. It was an alternate quest that's initially available on the PlayStation 1 in Japan, but didn't make it stateside, to some extent, due to what is believed to be time constraints. It's possible to access the scenario for that version using cheating devices like a Game Shark, but it's better not to do so, as not only would it result in jumbled text and symbols, but the further you go in the quest, you'll reach an area that will eventually cause the game to brick itself. Another difference between the two versions is that the PSP has an entirely new soundtrack integrated into the game, as a way for Atlus to bring in players who have played Persona 3 and 4 to try out the very game that started it all. As much as I find the PS1 soundtrack memorable, I enjoyed the PSP soundtrack better. Players who played Persona 1 and 2 would also find the Pharmacy song catchy, despite the cheese factor. So what are my overall thoughts of the game? Well, even though it's made in 1996 and later remastered in 2009, I think up until now, this game still holds up. The difficulty is just right, and I love the overall mechanics of the game, having to negotiate with demons in order to give up their spell cards, and making your persona to make the game not only easier, but also interesting. It's actually a really good game to experiment with. Now, granted, later Persona games after this would improve upon its formula, but I think this game still holds up, at least. To that end, I'm going to give this game at least an 8.5. I do like the soundtrack, yes, but it's the soundtrack of the PSP version that I actually like better. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the PS1 soundtrack per se, but I just think this one sounded a little bit better. I know current generation gamers these days that play Persona will most likely skip this game, as well as skipping Persona 2. But I'd say give it a chance. I'm pretty sure you'll actually get some enjoyment out of this as well. I know I have, and chances are I'll boot this game every once in a while. So, what other game am I going to venture forward to next? Well, I'm sure you noticed the change of game on the TV screen behind me. Yep. Up next in the Chronicles, I'm going to be talking about the long-awaited Streets of Rage 4. Oh man, that's definitely going to be a really fun game to talk about. And to be serious for a few seconds, I know we are living in hard times right now, but seriously people, please take care of your health. I know life is not easy. I know a lot of people are suffering through FOMO. I'm sure you know what that means. But some things you're gonna have to sacrifice in order to maintain a good health. And please, for the love of heaven, take your vitamins as well. And when you go out, please protect yourself. I'm very serious. But anyway, that takes care of another episode of the Musashi X Chronicles. This has been Musashi X, and until then, I bid you farewell. Take care, stay tuned, and stay safe, everybody.